Welcome, everybody, to Victory Circle Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Wilson. Today, we have Asif Ali. He's a legendary arena football player. Welcome to the show, brother.
Thank you, brother. Great to be on your platform.
Thank you so much. So, man, since the last time we talked, you had several guests on your podcast show, Digitally Dreaming Off the Gridiron. How's it going with your show so far?
Going pretty well. Yeah. I mean, obviously, we had the last guest, Ryan Harris, Super Bowl champion. He was obviously the last guest that we had on back in March. I basically took a break from social media and, kind of the podcasting business. But obviously now I'm back to relaunch the platform. I'm looking to start it back up probably end of this week on Friday the 1st. So obviously, obviously since we last spoke and, from then on, I had a lot of different types of guests, NFL guests. Like Chris Dishman, obviously LeVon Kirkland, obviously multi-Pro Bowl, Super Bowl starters, Super Bowl champions, right, Ryan, and now I'm trying to obviously diversify that a little bit to kind of tap into professional life because since we last spoke, since I was on your podcast, with James, your other platform, I've also been doing virtual summits a lot, tapping into kind of the wall behind me, project management, business analysis, product ownership, stuff in the tech kind of agile delivery space. So I think there's going to be a lot more. I'm going to try to integrate that and have a lot more focus on that. Starting on the second launch, of my platform. So.
Oh, that's great, man. And I want to applaud you, man, because not too many professional athletes are successful in corporate life like you are.
I really appreciate that, bro, because it's funny. I was actually talking to, one of the guys out here, I just renovated my place out here in Zach and, and just moved in with a bunch of stuff, I migrated my whole memorabilia. So, anyone who wants to see that, just plug into the Daily Dreaming Gridiron podcast, IG page or my personal IG page. I'm be posting probably later this week. But anyways, yeah, one of the guys out here, who helped kind of, set up my security system just actually today. He said the same thing. He said, a lot of professional athletes who he personally knew. And it's funny, actually, Anquan Boldin's cousin actually came out here recently last week to help me kind of, move some things out of here. And he basically said the same thing. A lot of guys who, Anquan knew or guys who he knew through Anquan, they all struggled, in the post-football life. And, he was actually saying that, you look like you're in pretty good shape. And, you look like, that you transitioned pretty well. So good for you. And I was like, I appreciate that, actually, we talked about a lot of things because, he basically, actually watched my games. It's pretty cool to talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
He actually watched some of the stuff of the California Eagles out here in Stockton, some of the games, Chicago Falcons. I'm not sure how he was able to see that, but I guess because, he was plugged into the regional arena football scene out here in the Central Valley, as well as also, out in the Midwest. Through Anquan and others, and, obviously, you see what's going on right now with USFL, and all its other leagues started up, XFL starting up next year. So there's a lot of good things going on right now outside of the NFL and the pro football space. So,
yeah.
For me, obviously, it's just cool to see that. And, obviously my corporate life, I've been doing a lot of virtual summits. Most recently, this last week, I was at Quantum Leap. I spoke about project management, agile delivery. I was a keynote speaker there. And so now I want to hopefully, bring in some of that with the Digitally Dreaming Off the Ground podcast, so that way we can kind of intertwine both the best of both worlds.
Oh, that's phenomenal, man. So I got to ask you this question, man. With all the trouble that athletes are having right now with transitioning to corporate life, what advice would you give athletes?
Yeah, man. I would just say kind of, it's really difficult to kind of find that passion. It's really difficult to kind of find that kind of Kickstarter because when you invest so much of your life, to playing, whether it's, 12, 13 years or how many years, it's really, you really just, it's really difficult to really find out what that is that your sweet spot is. So for me personally, I would say that, my advice would be to kind of, understand what it was to kind of that drove you to get to the point of getting to the highest level, of competition and try to find where you can rechannel that focus. You know what I mean? Find something else to tackle. Find a demon to chase, for lack of a better term, right? When you find a demon to chase every day, you're going to always strive to basically tackle that demon.
Right.
For me, personally, that demon, obviously, the wall behind me was that, okay, cool. I found this field, and now my trajectory started, almost like 10 years now, right? And so basically, it started with one and then it just kept going up, you know, like just like football, like right here, right? You see everything right there, right? I mean, it's just like everything. You graduate college, you know, obviously, you know, to the arena scene, you know, all the way to Chicago, right? So, you know, it's just finding a trajectory and finding a demon and finding that kind of that problem that you have to tackle every day. And it's sometimes a difficult task to do. I'm not going to sit here and say it's easy. You know, everyone's, you know, I was talking to another one of my friends, you know, he was telling me, he's all like, you know, straight up, bro. And I'm not saying it's to be boastful, but he was like, bro, he's like, you know, you've accomplished so much, you know, and he said, I'm 40, about to have my, you know, I mean, shout out to my boy, you know, you know, Sarva, man, he's about to have his second child, his second baby, you know, in a few weeks. And he's all like, you know, he's like, I feel like I've just kind of wasted all my time, you know, since that's not playing. It's just kind of difficult for me to kind of find that, you know. And I just told him, I'm like, hey, bro, like, it's never too late. You know, I think ultimately, whatever it is that you're trying to find, that's another thing I might advise to athletes out there. You know, don't ever adhere yourself to a timeline, because everyone, you know, when you try to go to the next level, the highest level of competition, you're always like, okay, because, you know, it's such an aggressive timeline to get there, right? Because the window is so small. You want to say, I want to get there at 22. 23, right? You know, but I think, you know, trying to find that post playing, that post competition life, you gotta pace yourself, and you gotta really, you know, take time to find that passion, find that demon to chase, and chase after full force once you find it, and you know, that's pretty much it.
Yeah, man. With the suicide situation right now in the United States, you know, it's basically an epidemic now.
Yeah.
You know, with and especially with kids, I see from 10 to 14 years old. When you were 10 to 14 years old, what was your passion in school?
Yeah, I mean, when I was 10 to 14 years old, you know, football was actually last of my passions. You know, I was just this kid who loved kind of, you know, getting into animation, you know, kind of drawing, kind of comic book storytelling. I really enjoyed that. I was a very visual person. I also played with Legos up through through the age of 12, because, you know, that's actually how I was able to find this field. I like building things with my hands, you know, and that's also kind of how football came to be, you know, because I was very good, just like, you know, using my hands, you know, video games, you know, hand-eye coordination, you know, it's crazy how they both go hand in hand. So I had a bunch of passions, you know, at that time, you know, but my favorite subject in school at that time was history. And the reason why history was my favorite subject was because a lot of lessons and kind of what you're talking about, suicide rates, I mean, this is not a new epidemic. It's just now we have social media to kind of spread the awareness about why and how prevalent it's happening. How, you know, and I guess that is the difference now versus 10, 20 years ago, you know, when I was that age. You know, kids, I mean, I have classmates who committed suicide, you know, wow. And it was, I mean, you know, sometimes you just sit there and as a kid, you don't know why. But then obviously, you know, as you become an adult, you start understanding why, you know, mental illness and now everything, you know, and kudos to all the organizations who've done, you know, putting mental health first and putting this awareness out there, such as the American Suicide Prevention Hotline. You know, in my line of work, I've worked with some behavioral health clients who work directly with that patient population who's directly impacted by suicide, right? With youth as well as adults, right? A lot of them are former athletes, right? So, you know, but anyways, yeah, for me, history was my favorite subject because I thought there's so much that we can learn from our past, you know, and, you know, I mean, and I hate to say it, but there's a lot of things that we see nowadays, you know, where some of the same problems we were dealing with, you know, in the past, you know, I mean, but essentially, you know, with that, you know, I think there's a lot that we can take away, you know, with past to now. We obviously, you know, we can pat ourselves on the shoulders as society for the advances we made. But we also have to kind of understand, you know, why these same issues are still happening, right? And we have to really take our step back and see, you know, what can we all do individually and try to come together as a community in whatever community you may be in to try to, you know, tackle these problems, you know, so.
Right.
Yeah.
But speaking about social media, though, man, with the bullying especially, okay, bullying existed when we were in school, right? But now, man, it's on a completely different level. I mean, with social media and these video games too, bro.
Man, bro, no, I mean, you're preaching. You know what I mean? Because, you know, with the advent of social media and with cyberbullying and kind of, you know, it's very difficult to escape it. You know, it's very difficult to escape it and basically just, you know, because we're all so kind of caught up in that bubble, especially the youth, right?
Yeah.
Because everything now is digital. You know, I mean, I work in IT. We deliver digital products because everything's digital. I mean, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, obviously, LinkedIn's a social media networking platform for professionals, right? I mean, that's the tip of the iceberg, right? I mean, we have Snapchat, we have everything going on, and that, to your point, it's just one of those things where it's like, if you're so over inundated with social media, it becomes your reality. So the cyberbullying, all that stuff, I mean, it's just as real as, someone at your school, trying to, push you against the wall, calling you names or any of that sort. So, I mean, I think that's something that we also have to really give attention to. I think that's not a quick fix, unfortunately. I think that's something that's going to take time, because it's been something that's been in the making. It's been an issue that's been in the making, I would say, for a good part of 10, 15 years now. Social media became, as prevalent as it is now. So.
Sure. Well, man, when you have kids, will you have like GT5 GT5 and all those video games for your kids?
Might as well, right? GT5 was my shit.
Yeah.
Damn. I mean, it's funny. Like, I grew up, kind of, in the 90s was when kind of Super Mario and like Nintendo and like all that stuff. And Super Nintendo actually became like the prevalent kind of, platform. The PlayStation came to the fold. So, obviously, for a short time, GameCube and then Xbox, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, like, in that millennium, at the turn of the millennium, right? All these games. So they have, but also there's around the time around kind of school shootings around that time, right? So all the types of like Duke Nukem, everything, right? So it's just one of those things, I mean, I played GTA, obviously, well, even through my adulthood. GTA 5 came out when I was in my mid-20s. So
right.
Of course I'm going to play it, and I'm just a fan. I'm waiting for the next one to come out, if it ever comes out. You know what I mean? But, I just think, good parenting, it's kind of striking a balance. You give a little, but you also got to, set the boundaries and set kind of expectations. And that's something my parents did for me and my brothers. I think it's something that, I'm also going to carry on, when I do have my kids, whenever that is. So hopefully soon or whenever. I think ultimately that's something that, it comes down to parenting, it comes down to coaching. I look at it as parenting, coaching, right? I mean, you have a father figure, right? You have a, you have a plan, you have a strategy. You have to also kind of understand, for me personally as a coach, right, working with kids at Whitney High School, working with those kids, right, it's give a little, take a little, give a little, take a little, give a little, take a little, right, and then slowly but steadily you watch it, and it just grows into something beautiful. So
that's a great point, man. Parents did have a lot to do with that situation. I mean, are you paying attention to your kids and how much time they're on these video games? I mean, it makes a huge difference.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's just kind of, being there plugged in, because it's just, I mean, ultimately your kid needs you, at those early ages, right? I mean, and depending on, how, I mean, every parenting style is different. I know for my nephew, like one of those things that I try to do, is just try to be there as much as I can. And like, I mean, my nephew is only 2 years old, but it's like, I try to kind of, we're already starting throwing around the ball. So, I mean, I think, and just like little things like that, I think football definitely helps set an example for any kid early on, because it teaches these life lessons, about discipline, about, about brotherhood, about responsibility, and about just understanding, kind of what it is, how how to be a better overall man. And now, obviously, now women, because now women are now, at the forefront of football too.
Yeah.
And it's pretty awesome to see that.
So, yeah, you enjoy it? Me too.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I'm an Irish fan, Katie Sowers, right? Great coach. Now, I mean, on my football team, we had a female kicker. I think we were the first team in the state of California to actually have a female kicker at the JUCO level. So Westside College. So these are types of things that, I think are important. I think, these landmarks and milestones, right? And now, I mean, when it becomes a norm, like in that, I feel like it almost is now, I mean, then it no longer is a weird thing anymore.
Right. But man, when you were starting your football career, you were staying at home or you had your own place?
I was staying at home. And the reason for that was because I was still in school. Right.
Okay.
So, because I basically started my football career. So I started obviously, like, my freshman year was 2008. Then that's when I met Coach Dub, who's now on the Ravens, Coach Keith Williams, hey man, love you, coach. You listen to this. And, that was kind of, obviously I was still a student, still also, but also playing, that's how I kind of got, I guess you could say broken in, to the student athlete kind of mold. Right. The following season, after Coach Dub left Fresno State, when I went to West Valley, and Coach, there's another Coach Dub, Keith, not Keith, but Carl Williams, right? And he was also he lived nearby me, and the same thing. 19, still learning the ropes. And essentially, then when I tried to go out for the Arena League, I was only 19, around 20 years old, didn't make it, and so all throughout I was staying with my parents, because I was still in school part time, still working, as a pizza driver, and just trying to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And fortunately, I had to support my parents to help me kind of get through, right? And so essentially, by the time I was able to break in, to the Cal Eagles in 2012, right, and we had our great run, Western Conference Championship run, and everything we were able to accomplish that season, with all the issues we had from the team budget, also kind of a scheduling perspective with the league. By then, I had already had enough units to basically transfer to and finish up my degree. So I basically finished up, my playing career at that point, and then basically finished my degree. By the time I finished my degree, I was able to actually it wasn't that following year, but it was a year after 2014, I was able to actually move out and start working. That's basically how I broke into this field. So yeah. But then it's funny because then I thought I was done playing at that point, and then I ended up moving to Chicago to finish my master's, 3 years later, and then I got back into it, while also kind of doing this full time.
Wow.
And it was definitely a great experience because it really taught me a lot about just kind of going from not just only playing and being kind of like that young kid trying to make it. Now at this point I'm a veteran because now I'm surrounded by these young kids who were once in my position, either staying at home or either staying with their parents or living on their own, and trying to get noticed, trying to get to that next level. So for me, I was almost like a veteran, kind of like a big brother figure to them. So it's just, and then that also transitioned to the next year when I came back to California and started coaching at Whitney. So it's building blocks,
Right. That's cool, man. So I saw a couple of videos of you, man, on Instagram with a uniform on and and running. I mean, you're still in pretty good shape. Are you still playing?
Oh man, you see that's the thing. I sometimes the itch and just trying to you can't shake the itch. I cannot shake the itch. It's in my blood, man. I just been in this game for 12, 13 years, and I just can't shake the itch sometimes. So sometimes I gotta put on the pads. I gotta put on my uniform. I gotta put on the cleats. I gotta get out there, man. It's just part of just in my blood. And shout out my boy Aram, who's actually a guest on the podcast as well. He's actually the receiver who I was throwing. I was actually throwing. He was running for the most part. So I let him rock my 81. We go way back. We go back to during my times when I was in between the Cal Eagles and the SaberCats, San Jose SaberCats. And basically, Aram is he's a great kind of, I guess, for someone you need to kind of like a sponge or someone to bounce ideas off of. He's my guy who I love running, just like conditioning and throwing and kind of going over routes and technique, and I was hoping to come back and play, just play maybe semi-pro or something regionally right here.
Oh yeah.
But essentially that's something that, I'm not sure how feasible it is, kind of working as an commitment because of my consulting business. But I would love to play, but also my knees tend to remind me like, man, motherfucker, please. You try to get out there and run, because football is a young man's game.
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm old by any means, but a young man's game as in, you're straight out either your college or university, trying to get to university. And, so I think if I wanted to play again, I would have to make sure that I'm in 110%, conditioning and, by my standards. And essentially, that would be a personal decision. Me and my family would have to make that decision. But outside of that, I think I'm good for now. My playing career was great. And, ultimately now, if I'm ever going to be involved in the game, it will probably be kind of what you see on Instagram. Just getting out there, throwing the ball around, conditioning, so obviously coaching.
Right.
So.
But man, Mike Hollis?
Yeah.
He's 50 years old, man, and he took 20 years off and got back into football. What do you think about that?
I don't even know what to say. See, you hear some incredible stories. Like, like all the guys, who I'm surrounded with, or the guys who are followers of me on my platform, right? They're like, yeah, like, damn, like, you took 6 years out. You didn't even play in high school. You dominated at this level. That's what the guy who came by to install my security system today said. He's like, you dominated at this level. Anyone who didn't make it to the league, they'd want your career. Like, you did something great. And, obviously, like, for me, taking 6 years off in between playing from my last season to, like, my first season, right, between the Chicago Falcons and the California Eagles, for me, it was definitely a transition. Now, you're talking about 20 years, You know what I mean? I don't even know what to say to that. That is just remarkable.
Yeah.
I actually saw a couple years ago, there's a story about a guy. He's a player for playing semi-pro out in Phoenix when I was living out there for a little bit. He was 71 years old, and he threw a touchdown to his grandson in a semi-pro game out in Phoenix, Arizona.
Are you serious?
He'd been playing for 55 years.
What? No, you got to be kidding me.
No, I mean, you can go look it up, type it in. 71-year-old man goes out and throws touchdown to his grandson in semi-professional football game. Local media interviewed him. I'm sitting there, I'm like, holy shit, because we actually had a guy in the Chicago Falcons, Daryl Baines, just like Mike. He's in his 50s and he's still playing. 57 years old. I have no idea. But
but obviously though, it depends on the position too, man. Because Mike is a kicker.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, obviously you can't be a running back or a quarterback
or a receiver.
No, a receiver either. No, definitely not.
No, your wheels are done. I mean, for me, my wheels were done around 29, 30, just because that's just nature. Your knees take so much contact, especially from the slot position. Yeah, that's why you see guys like Julian Edelman. He played up until 33, 34, right? And he called it quits. That's pretty standard. Wes Welker, same thing, right? 33, 34. At the highest level. So these guys are at the highest level of their competition. I obviously play special teams the majority of my career, right? And so for me, I mean, I loved, kind of playing, getting out there, hitting. But again, same thing. You got to be able to get down there and just jolt down there as fast as you can. If your wheels aren't fully lubed and, oiled up and ready to go, hey, man, you're going to be a liability.
But how did you avoid injury all those years, man?
It's proper technique, situational awareness. It's funny you asked me that question. Another guy who came by my place the other day, he's actually here to help kind of, set up, some other type of service I need in my house. He basically said, he's like, because his son plays special teams at University of Northern Arizona. He was a long snapper. And he saw my wall, right? He saw special teams player of the year, all that. And he's like, yeah, man, it looks like you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah.
So how are you able to kind of avoid all that? I was like, just situational awareness. Coach Dub and other coaches like Coach Connor, Coach Wink, head coach, shout out Coach Wink, head coach San Jose City College, right? It's just understanding the importance of special teams, the importance of technique, tackling, wrapping, and making sure that you lead with your shoulder, go through the pec, not with your head. And fortunately for me, I was never on the receiving end of a tackle in the sense that my role as a special teamer, as a slot receiver, whether it's blocking, whether it's getting down there on punt, whether it's getting down there on kickoff, it's just essentially just making sure that I knew my lane integrity was key. Because obviously every gunner, on kickoff and on punt, you have to know exactly where you're going to hit, who's your assignment, make sure you pick up your assignment. For me, is just making sure that I picked up all my assignments and making sure that I did what I need to do to not, to avoid injuries as much as possible, and fortunately for me, I was able to avoid major injury. But, to answer your question, there really isn't a clear answer. I think some guys get lucky, some guys don't.
Right. But do you think that your nutrition played a big part of that?
Oh, absolutely. I think nutrition was something that I started, taking seriously the moment I started playing back in JUCO. Basically, around, because like I said, I was 135, just soaking wet when I stepped on to San Jose City College, and coach like, yeah, you're gonna put on some fucking weight. Sorry, you're gonna put on some weight. You know what I mean? And so that was one of those things where I had to take that seriously. I had to start, hitting the gym, taking protein shakes, focusing on protein, focusing on, kind of carbs and just, hydration. And I think nutrition had a big part in that. That's why, I'm here today. I'm still going strong. I'm 32, but I feel like I'm 22. It's just, I think nutrition is key. Nutrition, workout regimen, obviously everyone works out, but I think you putting the right stuff in your body is key. For me, I've started laying off the sweets. I've started laying off a lot of processed food. I was able to take a lot more shortcuts when I was younger, right? But after you hit 30, your metabolism slows down, so you got to be a little more cautious about that, But the good thing is now I have even more bulk if I decide to get out there and play again. So, it's one of those things. But yeah, I think nutrition was definitely key. I actually had a personal trainer back in 2010, Adam Tafalis, when I was training for the SaberCats tryout. He actually played in CFL, San Jose State, starting quarterback, holds numerous records over there at San Jose State. And he was definitely a key. He was a key in terms of kind of helping me understanding the importance of nutrition, liquid protein, kind of making sure that my workout regimen was succinct to help put on weight, and as well as also try to focus on the bulk, and then obviously, cutting after we finish the bulking. And also kind of just eating the right stuff to keep your body kind of, ready to go. Practice, game day, you have to make sure that you're putting the right things, carbs, protein, and a lot of, again, hydration. That stuff is critical. And for me, obviously at this point, vegan, everyone is starting to adopt the vegan diet. I'm kind of like doing like a little bit of a hybrid of that. Trying to cut out dairy or just going with skim milk and non-fat, and also kind of obviously low-fat diet, low-fat, low, I would say less emphasis on animal-based saturated fat, higher emphasis on plant-based saturated fat.
Okay.
Avocados, nuts, nut butters, stuff of that nature. So.
Awesome, man. What do you think about this coming season, man, for the NFL?
Man,
what do you think about San Fran?
Yeah, you see, I don't even know, because I'm sitting here, and that's a great question. It's such an easy question, but it's such a complex situation. Because when you look at it from the, from it from the outside perspective, I don't have any inside sources for Warner. Obviously, all my listeners from my podcast, if you listen to this, you guys are like, wait, what the hell are you talking about? You have so many former NFL players on your platform. Yes, and I did play, right? But anyways, I digress. I don't have anyone in there now, right? I don't have anyone who's close to the situation now. But with Trey Lance, it's a situation where, everyone was expecting Jimmy to be traded in the offseason. For whatever reason, the Niners, they kept holding their cards close, I think, and that's not to be derogatory to anyone with John Lynch as general manager or Shanahan. So obviously Jimmy's still on the roster. Looks like he's going to stay on the roster final year. Trey's basically gonna have to learn the ropes pretty quickly. And actually, I'm going to talk about this on my podcast probably this first episode, because I really want to talk about what Trey's trajectory is going to be, because that to me is the biggest question mark. That's really how quickly can Trey catch up to Shanahan's playbook? Mm-hmm. How well can he gel with his receivers, with Kittle, with Debo? Another question mark: Debo's contract, right?
Yeah.
And, how's that run game going to look? It's just there's a lot of differing question marks with Niners. The O-line looks pretty good. Defense looks pretty good. Secondary is also another question. We'll see how they kind of look, coming up this season. So a lot of question marks. I'm optimistic that they'll probably make the playoffs. I don't know if they're as good as the Rams. I do think that they're good enough to make it and qualify. I don't know how deep they can go. They may go as deep as they did last year and shock everyone. It's going to depend a lot on kind of, how they played their regular season schedule with the matchups, divisional, interconference opponents, and obviously how well they travel. And again, Trey, how quickly can Trey come up to speed with the NFL? Right. And that's really what's going to come down to. Trey can come to speed with the NFL, the defense and everything. Boom, we're hitting it. But I've talked to other Niners fans, and they basically said that they're not confident at all. So we'll see.
Yeah. Should be an interesting season. I mean, I don't know what the future is for the Falcons. I'm a Falcons fan. But I don't know. In my opinion, man, I think Matt Ryan is done. I don't know.
Yeah, Matt Ryan being on the Colts, it's going to be interesting to see how he does on this season with the Indianapolis Colts. I think that team is really well built. And you saw Philip Rivers the last season there. They made a pretty good playoff run. Lost in the first round to a very good Bills team. So I think with Matt Ryan there, I mean, he may have a career resurgence year. You never know, right? But our question is basically Tom Brady. Tom Brady coming back. Will Tom Brady change the landscape in the NFC, right? Rob Gronkowski retired, but they still have a lot of firepower there. They don't have AB anymore on the Bucs, right? So, and Green Bay, Devontae's not there anymore. So Aaron Rodgers lost his best target. So a lot of question marks there. I think the NFC, pretty much the Rams should still be the favorite, even though they lost, they lost Von Miller, I believe, to the Bills. Yeah. And so the Bills are also looking really good with Von Miller and a few other free agent acquisitions. So you got to watch out for them. It's going to be an exciting year. Exciting year. I'm not sure if the Bengals are going to make a deep playoff push, but it'd be cool to see if they can come back. I mean, the Bengals are primed, and Marcus Ogden, who's on my show back in January, right when the Bengals played the Chiefs AFC Championship game, said the Bengals are primed to be that powerhouse team to go up against his Ravens and just run the AFC North for the years to come. So there's a lot of storylines, a lot of intrigue, and we're going to see how it plays out.
So, man, thank you so much for being on the show again, man. It's been an interesting, great conversation, and I'm sure that my audience will get a lot of value out of this, man, especially football players. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. And let me just close out with this. Any football players out there struggling, go out there, seek help. There's career guidance, career counseling programs. Reach out to anyone you can, because to find that passion, find that demon. I almost feel like football players trying to reintegrating with regular life after them playing. I think it's almost like military veteran-esque in terms of PTSD and trying to find your purpose, trying to reintegrate with society. So make sure you reach out, make sure that you do your necessary, do what's necessary to figure out what it is that you're passionate about, and and the rest will take care of itself.
Awesome advice, man. Thank you so much.
100%, brother. Take care.
All right, man. Take care.
Thank you for watching Victory Circle Podcast. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel.